Looking around, I finally see I think I need a change. The rat race, I wanna flee, my world I'll rearrange. I'm getting back to the roots of how it's meant to be. Growing gardens, picking fruit, racing livestock, living free. It's a modern homestead. Build a modern homestead.
Hello and welcome to the Modern Homesteading Podcast. We are your hosts, Harold Thornborough
and Rachel Jane Hessen.
Glad you're joining us today. Today we're going to talk about, we're going to kind of continue on what we talked about a couple weeks or last week on seeds, but we're going to take it to the next level and we're going to talk about the best places to get, trees, bushes, vines, canes, things like that for our homestead, because some of the seed companies we talked about, some of them do sell those things, some of those things, but some of them don't. So we thought we'd just maybe focus in on just that and talk about that, because there are a lot of people that ask questions about that, like where do you get your trees, where do you get your raspberry bushes, your whatever, so we picked some companies or some places and some ways that you can kind of stock up your homestead with the good stuff. I love my perennials. I love them. I love all the perennials on my property. So it's the thing I get most excited about when I plant, even more so than my vegetable garden. I really love putting that stuff in.
I think I'm growing more and more into a person that uses perennials more than anything else. If I can find a replacement for an annual and a perennial, I just like it. It saves so much more time. They tend to be a little bit more hardy and less work.
Yeah, the less work part's why I keep thinking I like about them, because it's just I don't have to replant and I just get food from them every year without a lot of work. A little bit of pruning, a little bit of care, but I mean, you just get, and you get an abundance too. I mean, you just get so much food, it just keeps coming. So, but before we get into all that, what's been going on in your homestead?
Oh, that year-end thing that everybody loves doing. We've been working on taxes.
Yeah, I got to get into it. I haven't even really been focused on it too much, but I'm going to have to get it done.
Right. And one of the blessings of living here is you get to pay your taxes. And then we had a very cold Saturday. What is today? Today is Monday for those of you listening. We're recording on Monday, but on Saturday, we went and picked up a bunch of fence posts from an orchard. And actually, my daughter texted them to me all the way from Puerto Rico. She's like, "Hey, Mom, you need to go and look at these fence posts that I found on Craigslist." And so I went over there and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, we need fence posts." And, locally here at Menards, they're like $17 a pole. Mm-hmm. And we ended up getting them for $3 a pole. So
that's an amazing deal.
Yeah, we were pretty excited. So we had to do some car finagling and begged our older daughter to borrow her bigger truck so we could pull our bigger trailer. And we went up, which for us, there's a peninsula. So we drove up a peninsula. It was like an hour drive and loaded 160 poles onto that trailer. And it was cold. Yeah. It was like 21 degrees and it's really windy out on that peninsula. It was so cold.
But later when you're doing the projects, you're going to be so thankful you spent that day out there in the cold doing that, because that's a lot of money savings right there.
Maybe I shouldn't be so excited about buying myself all that work, but I'm so excited. It's ridiculous. I'm like, I got poles for my orchard, for my grapes, for animal fencing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited. And then yesterday, while I was working on taxes, we ended up not having internet. So it was like back to old fashioned times, kind of,
It's amazing when something like that goes down, you realize how dependent on it you are.
Oh my word. Oh my word. I mean, I had my phone and I shouldn't complain. I ended up reading and doing some knitting and stuff like that. But yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds like it. Well, I haven't been walking in on any great deals or anything like you did this week, but I did work in the aquaponic system a lot, and I put like 80 elderberry cuttings in the aquaponic system to root. And then I also
Wow.
put a few cuttings. I took some currants and some goji and some mulberry cuttings and some fig tree cuttings. And I'm just curious to see how they're going to do in there. I wanted to stick those in there and see if they'd root real good or not. So I took some cuttings from all those. And so I've got all the aquaponics beds filled with cuttings because I just gave up trying to grow some winter veggies in there in the
Wow.
aquaponics because this winter has already been unseasonably cold and I just don't know what's coming. And it does fine. I think on a normal, like the last few winters we've had, I think it would have ran fine all winter. But this one's shaping up to be kind of a nasty cold one. So I'm like, I'm not even going to just keep putting seeds in there and watching them fail, or dying when I get just about ready to eat off of them and then they fail again. So I'll just stick with the cuttings. Because it ain't going to get no colder than what it did get, and they did fine. So they didn't hurt them at
Interesting.
all. And I pulled the couple that I had in there already. I pulled them up, and the roots on them are like 6 inches long. Like it had a
Wow.
whole
You're going to have
bunch.
to,
I'll take a picture, yeah, and
yeah.
share it. It was amazing. I was like, look at that. I mean, it was just hanging down. I was pretty impressed that it rooted as well as it did. So kind of
I need to
excited to
learn the
see.
skill from you. I didn't realize that you had currants. What kind of currants do you have?
I mean, they're just
Are
black and
they
red. I don't
black,
know.
red?
Yeah, I have black and red. I don't know if they have an actual name other
I'm
than
gonna have
that.
to go shopping at Harold's store here.
I actually bought them on one of the places that we're going to talk about today.
Well,
So,
when I looked at one of the places that we're going to talk about, they were sold out of red.
oh,
And
really?
Michigan is really iffy with
Yeah, I was going to
black
say, I think you're
currants.
supposed to have
Be-
them anyway.
yeah,
All right.
because of the white pines. But the red though we can. And one of the places I looked was sold out. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
things are already getting hard to find. I was looking at a few of the places we're going to talk about, and I noticed
I
there's a
know.
lot of stuff sold out. So I don't know if that's just because of the seasonality, or maybe it starts back up in the spring. I don't know. Maybe they say sold out, but they're just not selling and shipping right now, so they're not going to put it up. I'm not real sure, but
That's true.
yeah,
A lot of
uh,
these can like put in your email address and they'll notify you. So
yeah, I did that on a few of them.
yeah, so did I.
Yeah, I've been working on one of my 2023 skills also this week.
Have you?
On herbalism. I was kind of shopping around for, I mean, I took it seriously. It's something I really want to focus on. Foraging is another one I want to focus on this
Right.
year, and
Yeah,
herbalism, and they kind of go hand in hand.
they
And
do.
I was looking around at some courses, and some of them are pretty expensive. But I wanted something. I'm careful in the herbalism world because there's so much out there that I don't align with in their kind of their beliefs, and maybe the teachings would be just as good, but I don't know. I believe you put your money with people who align with you in your beliefs. I've always been that way. I try to support people who I kind of align with, in a lot of things. So, and in herbalism, there's a lot I don't align with. So I was trying to be kind of careful, and I actually found one that I haven't heard anything too woo-woo-ish or anything that I kind of like. That's more about just the facts of what this does for you and putting it together and everything. And they actually had a Patreon. And so I supported them on Patreon, and they had like
Oh,
courses. I mean, they had like full like classes, audio classes in there. And then they hand out these PDF sheets on all the facts and how to,
and you
like,
didn't send this to me?
well, not yet. I kind of wanted to go through. I'm not even going to mention them on the podcast yet because I want to
Okay,
make sure that I do. I've only listened to two of the
I get it.
episodes and looked at a couple, and I just want to make sure because, like I said,
Yeah,
there's a lot of. I'm kind of weird about the herbalism stuff. Maybe I come at it from a little different angle than some of them do, but
I just chew up and spit out what I don't want.
I do too. But when I'm throwing money at them, I kind of want them to. It's a little different
Yeah,
for me, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it seemed like a really affordable way to get good teaching too. And a couple of the episodes I listened to were really good and got
Oh,
into
good.
electuaries. You know anything about electuaries? I never even heard the word before. And
No, never
yeah,
heard of
that's
it.
actually making, it's using herbs in honey to
Ooh,
make.
yummy.
Yeah. And I was like,
I'm
wow,
all over that one.
and they're talking about making these different things with the honey and the herbs. And this goes back like, thousands of years and all this stuff. And then they're talking about foraging and they're talking about all the different things you forage. And then they get into like foraging all the different barks. And I'm like, I never think about foraging bark.
Yeah, you can use a lot of bark.
Yeah, and
Well,
they were talking about
so
that.
it sounds like you may have stumbled upon a gem. So I'm excited to see how
I'll turn
this.
it on to you before I make it public to everybody else and see what you think about it. But yeah, it seemed really good. So I'm really wanting to work on my herbalism skills this year. So it seemed like I
Same.
might have found a good one. So I'm going to look into that a little bit
That's
more and
cool.
work at it. But
This is the time of year, at least where we are in northern part of the United States, winter is just such a great time for us to catch up on stuff like that and reading and Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, well, I'm definitely going to pursue those things, and I definitely want to take my up my foraging game, my herbalism game, my growing herbs, and just knowing a lot more about them. I mean, I would say I am very minimal in the herbs. I mean, I've always been like, there's like maybe a dozen that I play with, but it's mostly been, like in some salves or some teas or in cooking.
Mm-hmm.
It's never really been much beyond that. And I want to just take it to a whole nother level and really, I want to have like a whole cabinet just filled with just all kinds of concoctions of things for anything that's ailing me. I think it's fascinating and I want to get into that a lot more. But yeah, that's,
and then you'll have to share your journey with all of us.
Something we wanted to start doing on the podcast, at least for a while, because in the wintertime, something you and I both talk about all the time is it gives us more time for reading. And we're both, we have a lot of books. We both enjoy reading. And I thought we'll just start sharing a book on every episode for now anyway. We'll see how long it goes because, there's a limit to how many books I guess we have in homesteading. I got a lot of books, period. But, but we thought we'd just start sharing books we've read or that we enjoy and that we could recommend and just pick one, each one of us each week and kind of just say what it is. And for me this week, it's actually one that's really not really so much a homesteading book. It's actually a novel. And it's
a pretty good one.
It's my favorite book of all time. It is. That's why I wanted to make it the first one that I put out there, because I've read this book. I don't know how many times. I've listened to it on audiobook. I don't know how many times. Probably, I mean, this is sad to say, probably like 30 times.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Over the years.
And you do really, really like
I
this.
like it. Well, when I used to drive a truck over the road, I would listen to it on audiobook probably once or twice a year.
Yeah, you have time.
Yeah, you have time. It just plays and it was enjoyable. But I've read the book itself a dozen times, over the years. And it's I guess I should just say what it is. Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. And it's an oldie. It's published in 1719. I mean, it's an old book. But
it's so good.
It's very good. If you're into self-sufficiency and you're just fascinated by stories of self-sufficiency, there's none better than Robinson Crusoe. It's the ultimate book on self-sufficiency. He survived 24 years, I think, on the island, Something by himself, and it's pretty amazing. The whole story is just amazing, but it isn't a true story. It's made up. You would swear it was the way it's written out and the way it's described.
My kids loved it. My kids both read it several times.
It's fascinating. I love it. And
I would say that I did, but
I like the unabridged version. There are abridged versions that are shorter and they cut out a lot of stuff. I don't like them as well. But I like reading old things. I like the old language. I like the old writing. I don't know. I like it. So I like the unabridged. If you struggle with that, and if you're not a big reader, get an audiobook of it. It's really good to listen to. It's an entertaining book to listen to. So if you get a good reader,
and it should be pretty easy to find considering the time it was published. Yep.
It's everywhere and it's really affordable too. You can find really cheap paperback copies or, I think you can even go to the library and get audio books of it from the library.
Oh, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you could. Yeah.
So
probably.
That's my book. What's yours?
Well, mine is not. When you put yours up, I was kind of surprised it wasn't a Homestead title. And so then I was like, I changed my mind about which one I was going to put on. And I saw yours. And I decided to also not do a Homestead title, but it is not. My book is not but I always get them messed up. Fiction, nonfiction. My book is not fiction.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
My book is nonfiction, and it's kind of a self-help book, but I really, really liked it. And there's several versions of it now, but the original one is still my favorite. And it's called Boundaries by, I believe it's Henry Cloud, and I can't remember the first name, but the other author is Townsend. But
I've never read it. So
really,
yeah, I've never
really?
even heard of it. I
Well,
look
it's
forward
another
to
one that you can
looking
get
into
in
it. Yeah.
audio.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really good book, even if you're not having issues with personal relationships, or you can even use it. There's actually a title for business.
Mhm.
But I don't think you have to be having problems in your personal life to read the book and get something out of it. It just teaches you how to have healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
There's one healthy boundaries for marriage, healthy boundaries for business. It's a really good book that helps you, especially today with technology, draw healthy boundaries.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, that sounds like that'd be a really good book to check out. I'm going to look into that one. I think that would be a good one. Yeah.
It's a really good one. And I think I've probably read that one 3 times.
Oh, wow. It must be good then. So it's a good read. It's not something you just go to and get information from. It's something you can sit down and just read through, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I just found it interesting. I think I read it the first time years ago. And then I read it again when I went back to work and was part of the business world and was having a hard time creating boundaries. Like when you get texts and from companies and stuff like that, and you're not at work, like how do you deal with that? And then I read it recently just because I just thought it was so valuable, the information in it. So
I'm already pretty good at setting boundaries. I mean, I won't text people back so much they think I'm mad at them. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wasn't. I'm always like that. I struggled for years being that pleaser. So I would just text you back anyway. It's like, oh, I know it's Sunday morning, but I should text back this business about their supplement. And it's like, no, it's Sunday morning. I don't need to text them back. They can wait till 8 to 5 on Monday.
Listeners of this podcast that's ever emailed me probably have experienced my boundaries on sending back emails, because there's some, if I don't have time and if it's not pressing or super important, I might not ever respond at all, or I might just respond with a 1-sentence line. And I a person only has so much time, but this sounds like a book that would be really good for people who struggle with that. And maybe I'm the opposite. Maybe I should release some of my boundaries a little bit. But
well, and I do think it's one that you can get at your library also, even though Henry Cloud is he doesn't apologize for it. He's a Christian, but it's not an overly Christian title. I don't even know if he really even mentions much about it in the book.
Is it a pretty new book or?
No, it's probably been out for at least 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will look into that. It sounds interesting. So on to our topic now. We're going to talk about, again, those best places to get trees, bushes, vines, and canes for your homestead, in our opinion, or in our experience, because there's tons of great places out there to get them. I mean, if we wanted to just make an exhausting list of big online nurseries you can get trees and stuff, there's hundreds of them that on a quick Google search you can find. These are some ways. Now, not all these are nurseries or stuff, but some that we're going to talk about just maybe some other ways too. But this is just either through our experiences, or maybe we've just heard a lot of good things about them, or I just really like the people involved with them. There's a couple on here that I really like the people, and I've never bought a tree from them or a plant from them, but I really like those people. Now, one of them I tried to get stuff from a couple times, but I always come too late, and he sells out so quick that I can't never get it. But what was funny though, because in doing this, I made sure I signed up for his newsletter so I would know when the stuff goes for sale now, so I can try to get something from him, because he does have some great buys.
And that's one of the tips we can give before we start is when the notes come out for this podcast, is that's what everyone can do. And then you'll get that notification. Okay, our sales have started.
Yep.
Because that's what happens with a lot of these places.
They get on the newsletters, because I mean, nobody likes their email box flooded all the time, but when it has value in it for you, you need to do it. And this is value. If you're really seriously about trying to get stuff when it comes out and it's available, you got to get on their newsletters, because stuff just sells out pretty quick. There's a limited supply, and it's just the way it is. But again, not all these places are places. We're going not all the ways we're going to talk about are places, online nurseries. I think the first thing that we have to consider, and probably the best way to do it, especially if you're looking to save money, do it on the cheap, is just network with your homestead community and get cuttings and plants from other homesteaders. Most of the time, if you know that the homesteader down the road has, blackberry bushes, he's probably going to give them to you. Yeah. How much you want for a start off that? Can I get some? They're probably just going to hand it to you. I mean, they're probably just going to dig one up or cut it, take a cutting or whatever and give it to you. I mean, 9 times out of 10, but even if you do have to pay for it, you're probably going to get it pretty cheap, and there's not going to be shipping issues and all the stuff. And it's just network with your local community of homesteaders. It's, I think, the best way to get stuff, honestly.
This is where you can also bring in bartering, with each other in the community, and you get stock that is acclimated to your area. That's a pretty huge thing when it comes to a lot of these plants. Even if it's the same variety, plants do acclimate over time. Yep. And that part is what's nice about, a local homesteader. And shipping costs can get pretty expensive sometimes.
Yes, they can. It's getting to be the biggest expense in doing anything online anymore. Like, I run an Etsy store, and man, I tell you what, it's like you sell stuff really cheap, but the people have to pay a lot because of the shipping. And you really don't make that much on a product because you have to think, well, they're never going to pay too much but the shipping is just so crazy. You have to make less profit to even try to get a sale on something because people just ain't going to pay that kind of money, which I don't blame them. I don't want to either. It's why things like Amazon, like Prime and things have gotten so popular because, you get that free shipping and people just go through stuff like that for the free shipping, because if you're going to have to pay for the shipping, it's costly. And that's the thing, you can expand your network of the homestead community into online. Like I've seen people in our Facebook group, does anybody have cuttings or whatever? And you've shared cuttings, and I've actually sent comfrey, to people and stuff, and that's in the group. And, that's the expense, you send it to them for free, but there's a shipping cost, that you have. And, but
yep.
But still, that's a good way to do it, especially if you can swap something. Like, you send me this, I'll send you that. Well, you'll pay for the shipping, they'll pay for the shipping, and you all break even, and it's kind of like you pay just for the shipping and stuff. And that's a good way to do it. You have a
friend for life when you have a plant buddy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I love getting, it's like a while back, one of the guys that was on the podcast, Jordy, sends me some walking onions, and I was like, I really appreciated that. They're doing great. I planted some out in the garden, but I actually put some in some pots in the greenhouse and watered them, and they blew up in there. They're doing great. And then, that real cold spell we had didn't kill them off either. I was worried about that because I had them in the greenhouse, but they did fine. So that was another thing to be good in there. Yeah, they are really hardy. But yeah, I mean, you just get, especially, it seems like it's those things that are maybe even a little harder to find. There's a lot of homesteaders that have them rare plants or whatever, and they're really good option. It's a really good option to find those kind of things. And like you said, especially when it's in your area, it's even way better. I would say the next best thing you can do is support local nurseries. Support your local nurseries, your small family-owned nurseries. They're working hard to stay in business in your area, and they're, and support them. If they got the stuff you want, support them. A lot of times you can get, a lot of times if you just want to, even as a garden supply, just for your vegetable garden, even it's a good place to get stuff. If you're getting, if you're wanting to plant plants like tomato plants or whatever, and not start from seed, it's a good place to support businesses like that. But a lot of them do have all kinds of bushes and trees and all kinds of stuff. And that would be the next place I would go. Yeah, again, a lot of them are bringing stuff in, and you want to be aware that sometimes businesses are just trying to make some money, and they will sell you things that maybe aren't ideal. And which brings me to my next thing, which is the large retailer garden centers like Walmart stores. And Rural King and TSA. I mean, they all have these, they'll set up these, these garden centers, and they'll sell all kinds of stuff. They'll sell all kinds of trees. And the thing is, you can get some really good buys from them. The 3 trees that do the best on my homestead are 3 pear trees that I bought at a Rural King. They're monsters. They produce so much fruit. They're great trees. They did great on my property. So I'm not going to say don't go buy your trees from places like that. But I'm also going to tell you to choose wisely and do a little homework, because they will sell you trees that you shouldn't even plant in this zone. They'll bring them in and just sell
They
them.
will.
And
Yes.
and they don't care. And because I mean, they don't care if it dies once you plant it or whatever, or you have trouble with it. You just have to do a little homework and figure out what trees work good in your area and buy those from them. And you can buy all kinds of bushes and things from them that they won't even grow in your zone, but they'll sell them. They don't care. They'll sell them to you.
We had a local box store. I noticed that because when they sell them, they don't have experts on hand. It's just a box store. I noticed that they had, I believe it may have been hardy kiwi, which will grow here. And I could be wrong. It may not have been hardy kiwi, but in my mind, that's what I think it was. And doesn't that need a male and a female?
Yeah. Yep.
Whatever it was they sold, the only thing they had was male plants. So if you didn't know a lot about what you were doing, you would have bought those and wondered why you didn't get fruit. Well, because you only had the male plant. You didn't have both. So that definitely is something to think about. I often will buy a plant or two from some small family-owned nurseries. Not because I can't grow my own. I actually run out of room. I don't have a greenhouse like you do, so I run out of room under my lights. And so one of the things I almost always buy from a local nursery down the road is I buy several flats of marigolds to plant throughout my garden. Because I just don't have room under my lights. And to me, marigolds are something.
I usually buy marigolds as well, and it's just it's such a great companion plant to scatter throughout your garden that I do the same thing.
So I buy several flats from them, and of course, always there's something when I'm walking through, I'm like, oh, that's pretty, and I buy that too. But I like to support the local places, and they often, and then going back to the big box stores, some of these varieties don't need to be rare or anything, like your raspberries or whatever. So you don't have to be quite as picky about what you're getting there, other than obviously you don't want to bring disease and stuff into your yard. But you can support these local places, even though they do not have those rare plants like some of the places we're going to talk about later. Right.
I think I bought my goji berry plant. I bought one goji berry plant years ago, and I bought that at a Myers store.
So did I.
And
oh no.
And now it's so much I can't.
That's where I bought my figs. I bought my figs at Meyer. My goji.
You know how they'll have them in that little bag. Like it'll come in that little bag. It's like a stick sticking up, and I have this little bag, and I bought it at Myers for like $5 or $6 or something. It wasn't very much. It was, I don't know. It wasn't very much. Put that one out here, and now it's like tried to take over my world, the whole side of my house.
I grew mine from seed that a friend sent me in the mail, and my goji aren't going crazy like yours, but but I have bought from Meyer. It's like in a square little box, and they look dead.
Yeah.
They lived. So
but I'm just saying you can't rule it out as an option. It's a very affordable way. You're in those places anyway. I just say choose wisely. It's not is the best place to put your money, probably not. But for some of us, it's just like, this is what I've got to spend. This is where it's available close to me. If it's the plant you want and it's right there, I'm not going to tell you shouldn't buy it. I mean, I bought plenty plants that way.
Yep.
And they've worked out well. I've had a few that didn't. I've bought some, the trees died, and that's a funny thing too. A lot of them will, if it dies, you take it back, they'll either give you your money back or give you another tree. I've seen that. A lot of them have that guarantee.
Some of them do, yeah. We speaking of, what happened to me was with this Meyer purchase was they were a different plant, so people didn't people will buy grapes and raspberries and strawberries, but fig was kind of different, and it didn't sell, and it was on clearance. So I bought them. So I mean, sometimes these places will have clearance fruit, and as gardeners and homesteaders, we can't walk by a good clearance stand.
That's right. I've bought many things that I didn't really have a place for, and I just brought them home and found a place, and that's fine. That's how you grow, and you end up finding some stuff you really, really love sometimes, or that you really, really hate. Goji berry. Anyway.
Humphrey.
I like goji berry. I mean, I've said it many times. I don't hate that I have goji berry. I just hate where I have the goji berry. That's what I mostly hate about the goji berry, because it's really hard to get rid of out of that place. The next thing we'll talk about is local conservation. This is one you brought up, and I hadn't even thought
Yeah.
about it, but absolutely. And now we put links. We're going to be putting links to all this stuff in here, but I put the link. Of course, you're going to have your own local conservation.
Yeah.
Some of them are on county level, some of them are on state level. We have the DNR forestry division here that has tree seedling nurseries. We have a couple of them in Indiana. I put the link for that one for anyone who's in Indiana you want to check out. And they actually, I went there. Actually had some pretty good stuff on there. I was kind of surprised at some really good prices. So definitely something I'm going to maybe look into a little deeper. Is this your county one here in Michigan, or is it?
That's not my county one. That's West Michigan.
Okay.
My county also has one. And what's cool about this is a lot of these will be your local plants that thrive in your area. So they should grow fairly easily in your area. They're usually, at least I've actually bought a couple of things from ours, mostly trees, but they're usually pretty affordable, but they're usually very small. So you're not going to get huge size, but they're very affordable. But mine has like elderberries.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it has a few other trees that are medicinal that people don't realize are medicinal, like staghorn sumac, not to be confused with poisonous sumac. But so they have some of those. And then, of course, we've talked about fodder trees too. And in these places, they're usually bigger on trees and bushes.
Right.
These places will sell your willows and your poplar and your mulberries. And I don't know about mulberry, but I know there's willow and poplar in ours anyways.
Yeah, I don't think they in Indiana they actually consider like white mulberry an invasive species.
And a lot of
you're not even allowed to. You're actually technically not even supposed to plant it. So yeah, they definitely won't sell that. But red mulberry is a native, and I think they're trying to promote red mulberry. So I don't know if they have any of those or not.
Yeah, that's kind of like us with Michigan. I believe, I could be wrong. I think it's the black currant that they don't want growing here because of the white pine. Yeah. But you can get a red currant, and I believe they have hybridized.
There's like they do one with like the gooseberry hybridization, like cross them, and then it has something to do with the disease with the white pines here, and I haven't been able to find currants for myself. So I only have a couple, and that's why I wanted to take some cuttings from them and try to get them kind of spread out. I'd like to have a lot more of them and start putting them around my guilds, around my fruit trees and stuff. Because I like them too. And I think I bought 4 from one place we'll talk about here in a little bit. But I like them a lot too. I just like to have a lot more of them. So I'm going to try to just take cuttings and see if I can't get them to root in my aquaponics. So but that's local conservation is a great way to get stuff that's obviously made for your area. So and usually to get you promoted.
Very, very affordable because they want people to be planting native species. So
yeah. And another affordable place and to get them is through the Arbor Day Foundation. They have a store where you can buy trees really affordable. I mean, they're a nonprofit organization founded in 1972. Actually, the first Arbor Day celebration, I think, was in 1872, but they actually started the foundation in 1972. And their mission is to inspire people to plant, nurture, and celebrate trees. I mean, everybody knows about Arbor Day and the whole Arbor Day Foundation. And they have a store, and you can get stuff really affordable. Now, I think it's like what you were saying with the local conservation. It's usually these really small bare root whips, pretty much take forever for it to grow. But if you're looking for cheap trees, I mean, it's a way to go. And I support their mission too. I mean, they're really about planting trees. They want to see as many trees planted as possible, and they really promote it. So I enjoyed looking through their website earlier when I was kind of going through and looking to see what they had, and they have a pretty good variety. I was surprised.
I had forgotten about them, and I didn't realize they were that old. That's pretty cool.
I didn't know either. But when they founded them, but like I said, it goes back even 100 years before that. So which is amazing. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Now the one I've dealt with probably more than any other online is Stark Brothers Nurseries. I have bought a few trees and a few bushes from Stark Brothers over the years, and I like them. I mean, they're kind of my go-to just because I've had such good luck with them. I mean, everything is always done really, really well. Now, what I was surprised to find out when I was doing a little research for this podcast was how long they have been around.
Oh, really? You didn't realize they were this old?
I had no idea. Founded by James Hart Stark over 200 years ago.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's a well-established company. I don't think it's going anywhere.
No, I don't think so. And they are, I actually purchased, I think somewhere around 30 trees from them last year. Yeah. And one of my, I probably will buy another one. I'm saving money for it, but just in case the one that I have, something ever happens to it. But one of the neat stories, and I believe they blogged about it on their website, was they actually have a tree that Laura Ingalls Wilder planted on her homestead.
Really? Well, that's funny because they're down
Laura
south.
Ingalls Wilder actually got that stock from them.
Oh, you mean she planted the stock that she got from them? Okay.
Yes, from
was it an apple tree?
When her and Manley, which is what she called Alonzo, when her and Manley made their homestead in Missouri.
Yeah.
And I planted their orchards. They used, so I have one of those trees.
Wow. Was it an apple tree or?
Yes, it's an apple tree.
Because I was reading on their blog, and that's what that's what it was. He had stock he brought over from wherever he migrated from, and it was the apple trees is what he brought over.
Yeah,
and that was his big thing at first was the apple trees. Yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody's followed me, one of the things that started me on this whole homestead journey was Laura Ingalls. Mm-hmm. So when I found that tree, I had to have one for my house.
That's neat. Yeah, that's a good story. Yeah, but they're located down in Louisiana, Missouri on over 300 acres of land. So that's kind of neat that they're down there. You're way up there, Laura Ingalls way up there. I mean, that's kind of neat that far, even back then, to get trees from that far away.
I believe that I want to say that they will guarantee their trees for 125%. I could be wrong. It's on their website, but they have a really great policy for that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what I don't know. We won't say that for sure because I'm not sure if that's what it is or not. But yeah, there is some kind of a guarantee there. But honestly, I don't think I've ever planted anything that I've gotten from them that's failed. I got my currants from them.
I have one tree that didn't make it.
Yeah, and now I got my fig tree from there, and what I was questioning on the fig was if it would have failed, it would have been because it wasn't the perfect climate for it. But it is a Chicago fig, so it's doing great though. I mean, it's doing great. I think I got a pomegranate from them that I planted last year. Now it's going to be a couple of years before I see anything on that. And that's kind of questionable too on the zone, borderline stuff there too. So we'll see how that does. But yeah, I mean, I've had great success with Stark Brothers. They're a great company. Trees in general, I mean, they cost a lot online with the shipping prices and everything. It costs a little bit, but I find them pretty affordable as far as just in comparison to other companies. They're right there, I mean, maybe even just a hair better than some of them. And good company. I've dealt with them for a few years now, and I've always had a good experience. So that's one I recommend for sure as a personal experience.
Yeah, for sure. I've been very, very happy with, and like I said, we bought a lot of trees last year from them.
Yeah, the next one that I want to talk about is a big nursery, and it's a popular one. Everybody knows about it. I think it's Dave Wilson Nursery. I've bought one thing from them a few years ago, and I can't even remember what it was. But I wanted to buy more stuff from them, but it was all out of stock when I went to buy something from them last year. I was going to buy something. I don't even remember what it was now, and I remember them being out of stock on it. But yeah, I mean, the one experience I had with them was good. They go back a ways too. Established by Dave Wilson in 1938. These nurseries got some history for sure.
Yes,
some of them do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, they're located near Reedley, California, and they're farming more than 1,000 acres on a 4-year rotation, growing over 4 million trees a year. That's a lot of trees.
I can't even fathom.
I know. That's amazing.
I cannot even fathom.
Now, like I said, they're a big nursery. They've been around obviously a long time. A lot of people have great experience with them. They have a lot They have a lot of stock. There's a lot of different things you can get, but even them, I went to their website. I found a lot of things out of stock. So I don't know why that is right now. Maybe it's just the time of the year. I'm assuming it's just time of the year, but now they're out in California. So I don't know on acclimations and things like that. So
I have not heard of this one.
what? Dave Wilson?
No.
Really? They're huge. No. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I have a new shopping place.
I think the first time I heard from him was through Jack Spirko, because he's in, they're one of them that you get a discount through his membership brigade.
Okay. I see.
You're welcome, Jack, for promoting that for you. But yeah, I think you can get a discount through them on his web. It used to be able to anyway, which is why I think I made a purchase through him back when I did buy something from him one time, because I was a member in there and thought, wait, I'll just use a discount. I don't know if he still has that as a discount, but he did for a long time. But yeah, so it seemed like a good experience with them for sure, though. Yeah, so I do recommend them. The next one is one that's I hadn't heard about. I've not dealt with personally, rather, but I've heard about them and heard some people had a good experience with them. And as I've done a little bit of research on them, I liked what I read on their website and stuff. And the actual company is Peaceful Valley Farm and Garden Supply. Now their website is groworganic.com. And they're pretty big. I was looking at their a matter of fact, it says that they are the largest independent U.S. retailer focused on organic farm and garden supplies. So they claim that they're the largest. So it started as a small family owned business, operated in 1976 in Nevada City, California, and they have continued to grow and grow and grow since then. So again, it's another California based business. I don't know about the acclimation for their trees and everything, but I've not had trees that seem to do better than like seeds. I don't know. I've had pretty good. If it's something that will grow in your zone, it doesn't seem like it matters much where it comes from as much, as long as it's zone compatible. Appropriate. Yeah, appropriate. Yeah. So as long as you got that going, I think you're fine. But yeah, I mean, another big one that, like I said, I've not personally dealt with them, but I've heard some good things about. So
I have bought seeds from them, but I have not bought trees or vines.
They have a lot of stuff. They have they have all the seeds. And a lot of these companies do that we're talking about. They don't just sell trees or just sell plant bushes and things like that. They are selling seeds as well. We didn't mention some of them. A couple of them we did mention. Or one of specifically we did mention in our seed episode, but I mean, a lot of these you can get seeds through as well. So
so far what we've like the nurseries, the conservation district, the Arbor Day, and Stark Brothers, I don't believe any of those have seeds. Those are mostly plants.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But Peaceful Valley has it pretty large.
Yeah. They have everything. Yeah. Yeah, they have all the bulbs and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, definitely want to check out if you're looking for a place with a large inventory. I mean, they have a very large inventory of stuff. I mean, you could definitely you have a lot of options there for sure. And you know what? You may go to one of these and they're sold out. Go to the other one. There won't be. I mean, so just shop around because like I said, I don't know that you'll get. I think all of these are pretty good companies we're going to talk about today. Now, here's the one that we're going to talk about next. Is the one I've tried to buy stuff and I had to get on his newsletter because every time I've tried to go buy something, it's like always out of stock or he's always out because he's a small nursery and it's Edible Acres. Edible Acres Permaculture Nursery. Now, I've talked about Edible Acres on this podcast a few times because they have a great YouTube channel. I love that. It's a permaculture nursery. He has a great channel. He's very small, which is why he's going to be sold out pretty quick on stuff, but he does sell quite a bit. I mean, he has a lot of stuff there. And I just love how focused he is on permaculture principles, forest gardening. He's really into low cost and no cost approaches to simple living.
Yes. And
you get really affordable plants from him. He's not going to abuse you in the cost at all. Matter of fact, I watched a video one time where he was like packing up. He was shipping out. He's like, well, we're going to do, he did a video on like putting his orders together to ship them. And he's using all like used material. Like he's going in these stores and getting used boxes and used stuff to wrap them in and stuff. Cause he doesn't want to buy things because he just believes it. Yeah. He's one of these person that he says it and he believes it and he lives that way. And so they're going to get a pretty package from him with your plant, with your cutting or whatever in it. You're going to get stuff that he'll take stuff out of the trash. I mean, not dirty stuff, but I'm just saying he's going to reuse things to ship it to you. And he just
I
believes in
appreciate
that.
that.
I do too. I look at that and I go, man, here's a person who practices what they preach. And he's not trying to impress you with fancy packaging or, things like that. I just love that, so, check out edibleacres.org is his website. I have all the links again to his YouTube channel. All the links are being for all these things in the show notes, but yeah, check out his YouTube channel. It's a great YouTube channel, all kinds of just great permaculture stuff there. And he sells some things that I consider kind of the hard to get things. He sells a lot of hard to get plants that are really good. Like I said, he's located up in the Finger Lakes area of New York State, so it's going to do good in cold zones.
Perfect for me. I actually just went while we were talking. I'm like, I'm going to go and get on his list because I want to get his email.
Yeah, right now he sold out a lot of things, but he sells quite a bit of stuff, but he does sell out pretty quick because again, he's not real big, and a lot of people really like him about those things, the way he is about things, because he's one of these people who practices what he preaches. So I say support him if you can, if you can get lucky enough to catch him in the middle of a sale. So buy some stuff from him, and he's got lots of good stuff. I've seen him selling stuff that I really want. He sells some things I want on my property that I miss out on quite often. So I'm glad I signed up for his newsletter. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to get in on the next sale and get some of those things. I'll let you talk about the next one because you just did an interview with him on the podcast.
Yeah. And I bought quite a few trees from him last year. He's another one that sells out. So people are going to want to go. It's the Rare Plant Store. It's Nick Ferguson's website. And he sells out also pretty quickly. So you're going to want to go sign up. Plus his website has some really good information. And then of course, I just interviewed him, and that interview has a lot of great information, but he's currently selling mostly fodder trees. I think that is all he sells. I thought he had
some fruit trees on. Well, I mean, he has mulberry, of course, which is a fruit tree.
And I believe that he's going to be trying to expand that, but all these, that takes a lot of time, especially with trees and cuttings to expand things like that. But his plant store is small still, but he does sell quite a bit. And
is he doing some bushes as well? I'm thinking he does.
Yes, he does. Yeah. He does fodder, and then he does a couple of. So he does them. I'm going to his website because he had 3 different options for packages. One was like a nut option.
Mm-hmm.
The other was a fruit medley. Oh wait, he's got a bee guild on here now.
I see. I was on there and I seen he had some other options.
Yeah, so that's a new one. I do not remember that. And then his fodder trees, which I bought tons of them last year for his fodder trees. And they're not huge when you get them, but these all grow very quickly. Like I put in probably like 40 of these. Not one of them died. And they all, by the end of the year, were double the size that. Yeah. And this was a year I had to hand water because we had the drought. So,
which is why he chooses those trees. He was trying to choose something fast growing that would make a great fodder tree to feed your animals with or do other things with. And he picked wisely for sure.
Yeah. And then he's got his fruit medley, which has got 3 different kinds of trees. And I'm going to slaughter how to say this. I want to say Ariona, pawpaw, and elderberry. And then his nut trees are.
Okay.
Yeah, his nut trees are chestnut and walnut. And then he has his bee guild is basswood, indigo, and foxgrape. So this is interesting. But
he's got some new things on there. Yeah, I'm gonna need more pawpaw. So.
And I think that he's going to continue to try to do that. So and I was really happy with my product. I mean, it came, planted it all lived. But he's another one that you're going to want to get on his email list to get that.
If you want to support him for no other reason, then he's just a super nice guy.
Oh, he is. He's a really nice guy. He will. Yeah, he's a super nice guy, super knowledgeable. If you go and watch some of his, not so much his YouTube videos, but the YouTube videos others have put up of his classes. I
Yeah,
think.
go back to the interview. I think we shared a couple of those. The interview we done
Yep.
with him, you done with him, and you shared a couple of the videos in the show notes that he's spoke at, and shared some really good information in those. So yeah, go back and check that episode out. And I have the link to hit that episode in the show notes as well, so you can. Or I'll put that link in the show notes as well, so you can go check that out. The next one you have on here, I've never even heard of.
You've never heard of them?
No.
Really?
Tell
Okay,
me all
so
about it.
this is actually one that Nick sent me to.
Okay.
So it's appropriate that it follows that. I also have another friend that's a big permaculture tree guy, and he also sent me this. This is actually in my neighborhood, kind of. It's in Northwest Lower Michigan, and they sell a ton of wholesale trees. Now, a lot of these trees, they also sell some ferns and some other live plants too, and a few seeds, but their trees are going to be a little bit more on the unusual and rare side. So when you, like, if you click over there and you look at their grapes are going to be the wild grapes.
Did you say the name of it?
Oh, Coldstream Farm. Sorry.
Maybe you did. I didn't catch it though. If you
Maybe
did,
I didn't.
I'm looking at the notes, but I was like, did you say the name?
It's called Coldstream Farm, and their website is coldstreamfarm.net, and they're in Free Soil, Michigan. So their climate is, more like mine, but they have a lot of their stuff is a little bit more rare. Like I was saying, they have like their grapes that they have are wild grapes. They're not going to be like your Concords. They have just your more permaculture type. It's more of your permaculture type.
Yeah, when you put the link in here, I clicked on, or when you put it in here, I clicked on the link and went over and checked them out, and I was like, well, that looks like a pretty neat place. Like I said, I'd never even heard of them, but they have, and they even advertise that they sell kind of unusual plants.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And now they sell they sell deciduous shrubs. I mean, none of it's going to be like, if you want to go and order your average strawberries or blueberry bushes, you're not going to find that there. You're going to find like your wild cranberry bushes, your low bush blueberries, which are more wild to our area. So
yeah, it looked like a good one. So definitely check that one out. Now, the next one we actually talked about on our seed show we did last week, and that's Fedco Seeds, but this is Fedco division for their trees. It's their tree division. Plus they have shrubs and, bushes and things and they just have cuttings. They have all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's just a big big company, and they have a lot of divisions. We talked a little, like I said, we mentioned all about them on the last show, but again, they started in 1978, located in Clinton, Maine, and they're specializing in cold hardy varieties. So if you're in those cold climates, we talked a lot of these places. We saw California. Well, here's another one that's in the colder climates. So it might be, maybe they're just your apple trees are probably going to be, more acclimated. It's going to be a better variety for the colder climates and things. I was going to mention that when we were talking about the big box stores. I was talking to this, again, why you have to be so careful when you're buying trees at big box stores. I was talking to this guy that was in like southern Texas, like down near Laredo, Texas, and he went to his Walmart and they were selling some variety of apple that was like a northern variety apple for like Laredo, Texas area. Like there's no way that tree is going to survive in Laredo, Texas. Right. Impossible. And yet that Walmart was selling that tree. So, again, just to go back to that, when they sell things that are obviously not going to grow in your area because they don't care, they just want your money. But this is going to be something that's definitely going to be, everything they're selling is obviously going to do well in a cold environment, at Fedco Seed.
Pretty huge variety too. Yeah, I mean, you can buy your regular blueberries, or you can buy some pretty unusual plants. They're like cane fruit. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty well-rounded company when it comes to just your normal varieties, and then some more native and rare things.
And they have a good reputation. They've been around a long time. They have a good reputation. So I've never bought a tree from them, but I've gotten seeds from them. I think they'd be fine. Yeah, I think they're a good company. So The next one I'll talk about is Food Forest Farm. Now, I have never bought from foodforestfarm.com. They are a permaculture focused nursery. And the reason I put them in here is because, well, I like the guy who runs it, and I didn't even know he had a nursery. But as I was doing a little research, because I like permaculture, so I was looking at permaculture nurseries. And Jonathan Bates runs this nursery. This is his nursery, and he is one of the co-authors. He's the co-author of Paradise Lot, which is
one
a
of my
great
favorite
book.
books.
I love that book. Yeah,
me too. I loved that book, and it reminded me that I want to go back and read it again.
and you get to basically hear the story of how this nursery came to be in that book, because they're finding all these rare plants and they're planting on this little urban lot, and this is how it began. And when I went to the website, it's like, they got a pretty nice variety of stuff, kind of hard to find plants at their permaculture nursery. So it's in Ithaca, New York. Been around since 2010. So I've been doing it a while. I'm surprised I hadn't heard about it. Look like some great stuff there. And like I said, just knowing what I know about him from reading the book.
Yeah.
It makes me want to go buy some plants from him. So I don't know. I've never bought from him, but I would imagine you'd have a good experience and they'd have some really good stuff, because they're really just open about their successes and failures in that book, which is what I like, because they're talking about things that did great, things that they hated, things they loved. I mean, just so you know that there's a level of honesty there, just reading that book, that makes you know that they're probably running their business the same way. They're probably not selling things that they hate. They're probably going to be honest with you about the realities of that plant, because they were honest about it in a book, So
well, and it was all on a suburban lot. It's not they don't have acres and acres of property here. This was a suburban lot that they
definitely expanded and grown and moved beyond that, but that's how they started. And I love
where that's what that book is about. Yeah.
So I'm going to check them out. Like, personally, I've never dealt with them, didn't even know there was a nursery there, but I think I'm going to, because it sparked an interest in me. So I got on their mailing list as well. I think it's one of them. I also clicked in and got on a mailing list. I think
and this next one I have never heard of.
I hadn't either, but as I was browsing nurseries, permaculture nurseries, I was just checking out their websites and reading about them, and just, and just deciding if I wanted to recommend or not. And just based on the unusual plants that they had as well, I thought, well, if somebody's looking for some hard to get plants, this is one that's going to have it. Again, they're based in Falmouth, Maine. So there's going to be
I see that.
Yeah, they're going to have some plants that are going to work in our climates, especially yours. Look like they had some great varieties, great website, had some stuff there that looked like it might be hard to find anywhere else. That's why I put them in here. So
you may have just spent more of my money with all of these.
I think I spent more of my money as well. So I do need a few more trees and a few more bushes around here. So I think this might be the year where I shop around, find some of them unusual plants. Well, I'm really looking for stuff to really build up my guilds more than anything. Not so much trees, but I'm looking for those plants to go around my trees. And I'm looking more in these permaculture nurseries for things like that. Looking for those unusual plants, that I want to really try and bring in, that are going to just come back every year. It's good perennial plants. So that's why I'm kind of shopping around in these. So you might be getting a little bit of a biased recommendation at this point in time, just because it's what I'm looking for my own property right at this moment. Here. So, but those are our recommendations. And I'm going to tell you, there's hundreds and hundreds of places out there. I can't say which ones are good, which ones are bad. These are some of them I dealt with, or I know the people involved with them, or they've come with some great recommendation. So that's why we recommended them. If you're using a great one, keep on using it. If you know of a great one, come to the comment section on the website and leave a comment. You say, hey, I really like this one. Utilize that space to share the one you're dealing with that you think is a great online nursery that you've had a great experience with, or just tell us a little bit about them or whatever. Or if you are that company and you want to put yourself out there, go ahead. I don't mind. We
would love that.
As long as you treat the people right, that's all I care about. But there's some great companies out there. I know there's way more than this. There's great companies, and some of them are small. There's probably some great big companies out there that we just haven't dealt with, that that'll treat you right. And a lot of times these big companies, you might get a better buy, because they deal in so much bulk. They might be able to sell it more affordably. And if that's the case, do business with them, if you got something that grows well. But yeah, that's what I have for you. Anything you wanted to add to this?
One of the things I wanted to add to this was a couple of these companies that I know of, maybe others do, but I do know that Fedco and Fedco, the Rare Plant Store, and Coldstream Farm all give discounts for bulk purchases.
Mm-hmm.
So this might be something that you want to gather a few homesteaders together and make a bulk order.
Great. Yeah.
Can help you maybe save a few pennies. I mean, hey, a few pennies here and a few pennies there adds up in this day and age. So,
and as we talked about, the shipping is the thing now. So it's like,
right.
That's how they save money, is because when they ship a big bulk order, they can do a better shipping deal, and that's why it'll be cheaper. And therefore, you'll get the rewards of that. That's a great idea.
Maybe more of these companies do that. I don't know, but I do know for sure those 3 companies do sell. Like Nick sells his packages, which aren't hugely in bulk, but if you're a suburban homesteader, you may not want 36 trees, but you can buy 36 in a bundle from him. But Coldstream and Fedco do much larger numbers than that even, and it just might be a great way for your little homeschool or homestead community to save a few pennies.
Okay, here's the question: potted trees or bare root trees? Which do you prefer?
I prefer bare root.
I do too. And it's strange though. And the reason now a lot of them I've bought have been potted, but it seems like 2 reasons. You get the bare root a lot cheaper usually.
Yes, that's one reason.
And they tend to grow faster once you plant them. I don't know why you buy a bigger tree.
And they don't seem to get so root bound.
Yeah, I think it's just because the roots have been limited in that pot for a while, and it like stunts their growth for a while before they start really growing fast. But when you put a bare root in, it just seems like it grows so much faster. At least that's been my experience. So it sounds like you've had the same experience.
And I bought all of mine bare root. So I guess I couldn't say. And I bought mine all bare root by recommendations from people that are big tree people.
Yeah. All the potted ones I have bought, with the exception of one, have come from a local nursery, and they did pretty well. But the one I bought from Stark Brothers, I actually bought a potted one, and it grew a lot slower than the bare root trees that I bought.
Right.
It did great. I mean, it's still growing great. It just seemed like it grew a lot slower. So I mean,
if you're getting a cheaper price and the plant's growing a little bit faster, then hey, that might be the route.
It fools you though, because usually the bare roots are a lot smaller than the potted ones. The potted ones will be a lot taller. Usually, a lot of times when you get them, they'll be bigger trees. You'll get this bare root that's half that size, and then it'll outgrow the potted one for some reason. I mean, I don't know why that is, but it just maybe acclimates quicker.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's scary when you get that plant bare root in the mail, and you're just like,
it's like it's dead. It looks dead.
It looks dead. But and I had, like I said, I did and all of a lot of my trees were shipped last year. I think we got like 60 or 70 trees shipped last year, and all of them were bare root, and they come in this bundle, and they look kind of sad, but they all did
and the
great.
reality is, when you buy them that way, you're buying them cheaper. Sometimes you can afford to lose 1 or 2 more so than a potted plant, because you can spend $70 on a potted tree, and you can get bare root a lot cheaper than that. So, I mean, you can afford to afford the losses a little bit better if you buy bare. I mean, it's just, I think I've had both. I've had good experience with both. Like I said, the local nursery that I've bought from, I always buy everything he has is potted, and I've had some great, like more than half the trees on my property have came from his nursery.
Right.
And I support that guy every time I get a chance, because he's had some stuff that I've wanted that, that aren't common that you're going to find at like the local nurseries usually, but he's more rare stuff. He's dealing with that kind of stuff. And I planted some of those things, and they've done great. But yeah, it seems like when I order the online stuff, the bare root does better, and the shipping is obviously cheaper on bare root, which is why they sell it cheaper, so so I guess I just threw that in there last because I was wondering what your preference was, but everybody has their own. I'm not saying
I wouldn't consider myself a tree person yet though, but I just followed several people that I really respect their opinion of. So
I'm definitely leaning towards more being a tree person. I'm definitely trying to every square place, any place I can put a tree where it's not going to hinder too much on my yard with shading and kill my garden. I'm putting a tree there. So
I'm not saying I'm not a tree person. I love trees and I want more of them. I'm saying I'm not a tree expert.
You haven't been planting too many of them. Yeah.
I haven't planted enough to say that exactly,
Yeah. I've lost a few. I mean, I've lost a couple pawpaws, but I think that's usually been because of other reasons. A neighbor's dog got a hold of a couple of my trees and chewed the tops off of them. But I have had some root bound issues, like potted. I lost a peach tree, and I planted it, and I felt like I did everything right. I spread the roots out. I got it kind of laid out there. Well, it did really good. This was weird. It did really good for a whole season, the whole summer, winter. Came back the next year. It came back. And as soon as it came back, it looked good. And then it just started dying. And I'm like, what is going on with this tree? I dug it up and the roots were literally in a circle. And it took a year. It took till the next year for that to happen. And they grew and it was completely root bound and grew into a circle.
That's what I've heard happens a lot of the times is it does really good at first. And then like a year later, and it's weird you say that it was your peach trees because we lost 2 of our peach trees. Now we lost them the year we had the terrible cold, like negative 42. But when I dug them up, it was the same thing. The roots never spread.
Yep.
They just never spread. Like we thought we'd have to dig this huge hole to get these trees out. And they were right there. And
some people make fun of this, but ever since then, because some people say, oh, that's just ridiculous. It doesn't make any difference. But I've done it ever since then. And I haven't had a problem is dig a square hole and then pull the roots to the corners of that square to where they go straight into that corner and they can't turn. And I've had people laugh at me and say, that is ridiculous. It doesn't make any difference. That tree doesn't need that. But I'm just telling you my experience. I haven't had that since I started digging square holes.
That's what we were told to do last year. I can't tell you which expert it was because I sought out several and I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was like Nick or my mentor Craig or one of these people that are really good tree people told me the same thing. Square hole. And I also put like a pyramid in the middle.
Yeah.
And I put, the tree on top of that and spread my roots out.
Spread them out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And of course I can't say because it's only been a year, but that's what I was told to do by them. They told me no round holes.
And they've been a lot better.
No round holes.
I haven't had any do that since I've done that. So, and so, which now I only had one do that with a round hole. So I can't say for sure that was the thing that, it was a round hole that caused it, but I don't know. You get some clay soil. And if the root it might just be easier for it to turn and go through that softer soil that you've put back in there rather than cut through it. Where a square, if you pull them roots to the corners, they really don't have an option but to go straight into that corner, at that point. So, I mean, it makes sense to me, but I know some people make fun of that and say that's just ridiculous. I've literally had people say that to me. That's ridiculous. It makes no difference.
Well, it might be ridiculous, but currently I didn't look at the price of trees last year when we purchased ours. I looked at some again 3-4 months ago. The prices have gone up. When you're paying $50 to $100 per tree,
give it every chance.
A square hole. So what? I don't care if it's legend or not. Just give it a whirl.
And it would probably depend on your soil. If you had clay, hard soil, it probably does make a difference. If you have super soft, you can almost dig it out with your hands. It probably wouldn't make any difference because then roots are going to walk right through it. But a lot of my soil, especially when I go down, more than just a few inches, it's pretty clay based, it's pretty heavy soil. And, it just tends to make a difference, I think. So, yeah, that's okay. That was some extra stuff in there.
And I'll have to report back on, I'll have to report back on how my trees do, because I have several dozen that this is their first winter.
Yeah.
And when spring comes, I'll have to report back to you. Now, I know for sure I have one dead tree. I'm almost 100% sure. We were hoping that it made it this winter and makes a comeback, but we're pretty sure. That's actually pretty good considering how many trees I bought to only have one. And then we had the massive drought we had.
You guys put in a lot of trees. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not going to complain. It was an apple tree and we had a huge drought and So, but I'll have
Trees
to
are a
report back
huge
to you guys.
investment. Yeah, trees are a huge investment. So yeah, give them every opportunity and every chance, and do the homework when you're planting them. And yeah, we won't turn this into a tree planting episode, but
Right.
yeah, that was just my little 2 cents worth to throw in there anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's all I have. You have anything else then? I think I already asked you that once before.
I think that's it. I'll have to give you
All
guys
right.
an update once spring comes. So
Good stuff. Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us. And until the next episode, happy homesteading. God bless.
and grow where you're planted.
Looking around, I finally see I think I need a change. The rat race, I wanna flee. My world, I'll rearrange. I'm getting back to the roots of how it's meant to be. Growing gardens, picking fruit, racing livestock, living free. It's a modern homestead. Build a modern homestead. A lot of folks don't understand why I wanna live this way. They've never eaten from their land like we do here every day. Snapping beans like Grandma did, sitting on her front porch. Hunting and fishing like a kid once you've done all of your chores. It's a modern homestead. Build a modern homestead. Country or city, there's a way to make this change. You gotta start today.